The Carolina Panthers are looking to get to 500, but the Dallas Cowboys and their number one ranked offense stand in the way. I'll give you my 3 keys to victory for Carolina right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I would like to believe that after Carolina came back from 17-0 down against Miami last Sunday, that this Sunday will be a breeze, that Carolina has finally turned things around during this Dave Canales era. But there have been some wild swings so far this season, winning 30-0 against Atlanta, only to lose 42-13 against the Patriots. And yes, I know New England then followed it up by going on the road and winning at Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. But still, the Panthers aren't 29 points worse than New England. They were that Sunday, but come on, you're much better than that. And they showed that by their ability to come back last Sunday. But I'm not so sure who this team truly is. And we'll find out more about that on Sunday. Jalen Coker could be making his debut on Sunday, but he's listed as a game time decision. But let's start off this Friday as we start off every Friday here throughout the regular season. And that is with my 3 keys victory for the Carolina Panthers for their upcoming game. Key number 1, keep up with Dallas offensively. Again, the Dallas Cowboys have the number 1 offense in the NFL. Maybe you've heard. Talk to Princely Mon yelling about it. Talk to Trevin Wallace about it in the locker room on Wednesday. And each of those guys and everyone else in that locker room is giving a ton of respect, and rightfully so, to what Dak Prescott, Brian Schottenheimer, and this Cowboys offense has been able to do, even without guys like CeeDee Lamb and with some other questionable roster decision that they made this past offseason. Looking over at our friends over at True Media with some of these stats, the Cowboys are ranked number 1 in offensive EPA. But the key thing here for Carolina is the Cowboys are last, 32nd in defensive EPA, that's expected points added. Carolina only has the 21st ranked offense, according to EPA, through the first 5 weeks of the season. So the fact that they're going up against what has been the worst defense per EPA so far this season will give them an opportunity to possibly keep up with the number 1 offense. It's not just number 1 offensively. Dallas is 3rd in pass throw EPA. They're 2nd in offensive rush EPA. They don't create a ton of explosive plays, though. They're only 15th in the NFL in explosive play percentage, which means plays on the ground, rushing plays of 12-plus yards, pass plays of 16-plus yards. They're not creating a ton of those, but they're scoring 30 points per game. 30.2 to be exact, while Carolina is only averaging 20.4. So looking at that, this is the game where Carolina is going to lose by 10 points. But considering the Cowboys don't have a great defense, the Panthers offense is certainly capable of putting up points and is getting healthier. Coker may be back this Sunday. That is going to be a key in this game. Can they keep up? Can they be able to hang with Dallas? I don't think Carolina wins this game in the teens. I'm not expecting a defense that, yes, they struggled in sudden change last week, giving up 14 points off of turnovers, but in the middle part of that game, they were able to get 5 straight punts. I don't see that happening on Sunday. Dallas is not going to punt a lot. Maybe once or twice is going to happen. Just prepare yourself, because this is still a Panthers defense that I wouldn't put up there with the top defenses in the league just yet. They've had their moments, but they haven't had enough moments to feel comfortable against a team like Dallas, a quarterback like Dak, to where they're going to stand on their head and play really well on Sunday. So we'll see if they can keep up. And a big part of keeping up offensively will lead to key number 2. Bryce Young has to limit his turnovers. And by limit, I don't mean going from 2 to 1. I mean from going to 2 to 0. He cannot turn the ball over on Sunday, because if Dallas is not going to punt often, which is in all likelihood going to happen, and Tracy Smith talked about this, Panthers special teams coordinator, that Dallas team does not punt a lot, and that's going to change maybe the strategy that Carolina is going to deploy special teams wise, but also you would think offensively maybe be a little bit more aggressive when you get closer to field goal range, to where is a field goal going to win the game for you, or do you need to go out there and score a touchdown? And that's not because Dallas is a better team than Carolina per se. It's just that they're a team that has been able to capitalize offensively in scenarios where it's led them to scoring 6, not 3. So for Bryce, just simply for Carolina as well, like when he turns the ball over, they don't win these games. Yes, they improved to 2-18 last Sunday, but that was only the second time, of course, that they've won a game where he has turned the ball over. Whether it be 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, they just don't win these games. And if he does not take care of the football, you back to last year against New Orleans, they won in that scenario. And then last Sunday against Miami, Dallas's opponents so far on this season only have 3 turnovers. So the Cowboys aren't necessarily going out there and creating a lot of negative plays. Their havoc rate is 28th in the league. So not a lot of TFLs, not a lot of sacks, not a lot of pass breakups, interceptions, fumble force, all that. They have not been doing that. So Carolina is going to be facing a defense that's really not good overall, and a defense that does not force you to make mistakes. So they should have a chance to keep up offensively. And then finally, you got to run the ball. Dallas has the 22nd rated rush defense, according to EPA, and then there's 32nd in success rate against the run. They're allowing 4.4 yards per carry. That's 15th in the NFL. The Panthers, meanwhile, are 8th in rushing yards. They're 12th in rushing success rate. They're 10th in offensive rush EPA. And yeah, the former Dallas Cowboy, Rico Dowdle, coming off a career-high 206 yards against the Dolphins on Sunday, and he said after that game, buckle up. Now, Brian Schottenheimer did say that they'd have their seatbelts buckled, which, okay, when responding to Rico. And Rico did say on Wednesday that him and Brian Schottenheimer, they have a really good relationship dating back to his time spent last year in Dallas. And it was a curious decision for the Cowboys to not want to bring back Rico Dowdle. Everyone in the world thought they were going to try and get a running back there early, like an Ashton Genty, of course, who's now with the Raiders instead. But not going back to Dallas, I thought was interesting. And Rico has to feel some type of way that they did not want to re-sign him. And he showed them last Sunday that maybe they should have. Now, Javonte Williams, the North Carolina native and North Carolina Tar Heel alum in his own right, has been really good for Dallas. But 206 yards. And angry runs are angry runs. And we saw a lot of those from Rico on Sunday. And going up against a bad rushing defense, a bad defense in general, and Dallas should present the opportunity for Carolina to run the ball effectively and for Rico to once again be the bell cow, as Chuba Hubbard's going to miss his 2nd straight week with a calf injury. More on the injury report here momentarily, but again, going over the 3 keys of victory, keep up with Dallas offensively, and by doing that, you're going to need Bryce Young to limit his turnovers to 0, cannot have a single turnover. That could be the difference in the ball game, and then run the ball. If they can do that, they have a great chance, I believe, to win this game on Sunday against Dallas. On Tuesday of next week, we'll be back reviewing those 3 keys of victory, as we do every single Tuesday following that game week. Chuba Hubbard will be out, but Jalen Coker could make his season debut on Sunday. We'll talk about the Panthers injury report here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Back here on Locked On Panthers, let's take a look at the Carolina Panthers Week 6 injury report ahead of their game against Dallas on Sunday. Got 4 players listed as questionable, and one of them certainly will be the storyline heading into Sunday, and that is Jalen Coker. Will he make his season debut on Sunday? He's been out since the beginning of the season with a quad injury the day after the Panthers traded Adam Thielen back home to Minnesota. A nice feel-good story for Adam, even though the Vikings aren't utilizing him at all. And I always felt like, why, when you know that Jordan Addison's going to be back in a couple of weeks, and when you already have Justin Jefferson, why would you waste your time if you're Minnesota trying to bring back Adam? But they did. He's back home, and good for him, but it's not really doing anything for either side at this point in time, at least from my outside perspective. But Jalen Coker, the next day at practice, injured his quad, went on injury reserve, had to be out at least the first 4 weeks of the season, was not ready to go last week either against Miami. But this week, they had his practice window opened up, 21 days for him to come back off of IR. If he's not ready after this 21 days, then he would be done for the season, but he will be ready. Don't worry, unless there's some awful setback, which would really be a tough situation there for him and for Carolina. And I'm just going to go ahead and knock on wood. But Jalen Coker, he's been out there all week. Full participant. Looks like he'd have a chance to play on Sunday. JT Sanders, also another player, has a chance to play on Sunday. He's been out the last couple of weeks with a ankle sprain, a high ankle sprain he suffered in that win against Atlanta. He was in a boot after that. I asked him about it. Did it feel like an ankle sprain? He said, nah, that felt worse. Well, it was a high ankle sprain. So he guess he didn't have one of those back at Texas like the one he had a couple of weeks ago. But he's questionable. Shaw Smith-Wade's questionable with a chest injury that caused him miss last week. Then Mike Jackson has a rib issue, and he is also questionable. But really focusing in on Coker and on Sanders, both of those guys, Dave Canales said on Friday afternoon, are game time decisions. I don't know about Coker, whether that will happen. Like I asked him on Wednesday, do you feel like you can play on Sunday? And of course he said yes. So he feels good. Carolina need to see some certain things from him. He was a full participant all week long. Typically when that's the case, you play. We saw last week with LeBron Ray, who also was on IR. He was dealing with an ankle. He was a full participant throughout the week, and then he was then elevated onto the active roster on Saturday. So we'll find out tomorrow on Saturday whether Jalen Coker will be activated, because he has to be activated first. So, I mean, I guess they're going to make it a game time decision. I suppose they can wait till Sunday, but it's kind of hard to do that. He has to be on the active roster. So I think that they'll probably activate on the active roster on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they would then just let him go out there and see. But if you're going to activate him, you don't activate him on Saturday if you don't expect him to play on Sunday, because then that doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can give him more practice time. You can keep more guys on the roster. You're not cutting somebody else and all that kind of situation. So we'll see. It may be smarter just to let him wait another week. But if he's been active all week, at least full participant all week, then I'm guessing he's going to play on Sunday. Now, JT Sanders, harder to say. He was limited on Wednesday. Then again, on Friday, was a full participant on Thursday. This is probably a thing where maybe one more week for him would make sense. So I think Coker plays. I don't think that Sanders is going to play. Shaw Smith-Wade, he will play with the chest that caused him miss last week. And then Mike Jackson's going to play. He also was out there every day at practice, did not miss really any reps at all. So he'll be good to go. But Coker, Sanders, those are the real guys who truly are questionable. Smith-Wade, Jackson, not questionable at all. Don't really know why they have game designation, honestly. The expectations that they're going to play. But Coker, I think, goes. Sanders, I don't think goes. Chuba Hubbard, he's out again, second straight week of a calf injury. Not the same calf, though, as the one that bothered him. That he had like a grade 2, I think, strain in last year, I guess in December, early in January of this year, that caused him to miss the final 2 games of the season. I asked him about that on Wednesday, said different calf. I'm not sure whether it's the left or right one, but he's not going to play, which, okay, totally fine. Rico Dowdle, let him go out there, do his thing. That's why you have Rico Dowdle here in the first place, is to be able to step in these scenarios, but also to play alongside Chuba. And we'll see once Chuba's healthy what that split looks like. But when you have a healthy back who's coming off a 206-yard day like Rico, no reason to rush Chuba back until he's 100% ready to go. Taylor Moton, he will miss this week, first game of the season that he'll miss with an elbow injury. Dave Canales said he hoped that it would only be a 1-week type of deal for him. Yosh Nijman will be starting at right tackle. That means Ike Ekwonu at left tackle, Damian Lewis at left guard, Cade Mays at center, Brady Christensen at right guard, Yosh Nijman at right tackle. every single offensive lineman, aside from Damian Lewis so far in the first 6 weeks of the season, has missed a game. That's not great. It is good that you have Cade Mays. It's good that you have Brady Christensen. It's good that you have Josh Nyman and Chandler Zavala before we can step in, but not ideal the amount of offensive line injuries Carolina's had. I would not expect Robert Hunt to be back this season. Austin Corbett will be back at some point in time, and we'll see where he fits in when that happens. But not ideal that this has happened so far this season. And then Turk Wharton, he'll miss his second straight week with a toe injury. Don't know whether it's turf toe, what it is, but he's now going to have missed his 4th game out of 6 games so far to start off the season. Not what the Panthers were asking for when they went out there and gave him the money, brought him and Bobby Brown III to help on the defensive line at defensive tackle. Bobby Brown's been able to play, been fine. Derek Brown's obviously been excellent. A'Shawn Robinson's played well so far, but just have not had enough Turk. My hope was for Carolina that they could have the same impact that they got out of Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt last year with Turk Wharton and Bobby Brown III this season. Through 6 weeks, can't say that will be the case. So still plenty of games left to go. 11 more after this Sunday. Got to get Turk Wharton back healthy, and we'll see whether he can go next Sunday as they travel up to New York to face the Jets, but he'll be out again this Sunday against Dallas. So Jalen Coker and JT Sanders, both game time decisions on Sunday. Shaw Smith-Wade, Mike Jackson listed as questionable, but should be good to go on Sunday. Chuba Hubbard out for the 2nd week in a row. Taylor Moton also off an elbow. Should only be 1 week. At least that's the hope for Dave Canales. And then Turk Wharton missing again with a toe injury, his 4th missed game across first 6 weeks of the season. Can the Panthers, who went from winning 30-0 at home against Atlanta and then lost 42-13 the next week in New England, can they avoid yet another wild swing? We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. We're still gathering information on the 2025 Carolina Panthers as they sit at 2-3 with a home game on Sunday against Dallas, an opportunity to get 3-3 on the season, sitting there at 500 before heading off to New York to face off against the Jets, before welcoming in Buffalo and then heading up to Green Bay to face off against the Packers. So safe to say these next 2 games are really important for the way we're going to feel about the Panthers the rest of the way here in 2025. And I would like to believe that last week's comeback win against Miami was the turning point of the Dave Canales era, that they went from winning 30-0, thinking that, okay, here we are, the Carolina Panthers, they're back, to getting off to, I thought, was a solid start in New England, but then everything falling apart after that punt return by Marcus Jones and getting blown out 42-13, to not starting off well at all last week. People texting me, DMing me, being like, oh, got to get rid of Bryce. This is not going to work out, yada, 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 to Bryce making some pretty important plays in that game. The defense stepping up in that game. Then Carolina coming back from 17-0 down to win that game and being 2-3. So I would like to believe after that happened, that on Sunday against Dallas, they're going to come out, they're going to play well and ready to go from opening kickoff, and that they'll get the job done. They'll be at 500. They'll go next week, beat New York, be 4-3, and then have 2 pretty big litmus tests against Buffalo and against Green Bay. I just can't have that confidence as of this moment, because I still just don't know who this team is, which again is why I say they're still gathering information. And Dave Canales, I pointed this out multiple times, said back in the spring, it's going to take 4 to 6 games to find out who the Panthers truly are. They've already played 4, and they were 1-3 in those 4 games. And I wasn't ready to say who they were at that point in time. Certainly was disgusted by the performances in Jacksonville and New England, but felt like, okay, let's give it a little more time. And even last week in that win, so okay, cool. Good to see, but let's give it more time and allow them to have 3 games on the road where they've all lost, and in 3 games at home where they've won the first 2 so far, and now they have one against Dallas, who again has a number 1 offense and is more than capable of blowing out the Panthers if Carolina is not ready to go and wants to revert back to their old ways of, well, a couple of weeks ago, earlier this season, those old ways. So communication, leverage, effort. 3 things that Nick Scott told me that he focuses in on every week when playing defense. Those are going to be vitally important for him and for the entirety of the Panthers defense on Sunday if they're going to hold on and beat Dallas. I'm not expecting them to go out there and pitch a shutout. I'm not expecting them to go out there and force 5 straight punts like they did last week against Miami. I'm not expecting that at all. I'm expecting that they're going to give up some points, but the offense is going to have to pick them up, and that's going to have to keep up in this game because sometimes you have shootouts in the NFL. That's just the way of life at this point in time in the league, with the way the offense is set up and the way that the game is officiated to not really help out defenses. It's just going to happen. And the Panthers defense, we know, is not at that level yet where you should expect them to hold down any offense of the caliber of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if they win and get to 3-3, that will then tell us a lot about this team. That, well, they can't win on the road, but they can hold serve at home, that they can come back from those 17-point deficits, where so far this season, aside from the game against Atlanta, they've gotten down by 3 scores in each of those games. And if they do that again on Sunday against Dallas, while we just saw them come back from it last week, we saw them fight back from against Arizona, they're not going to come back and win the game this time around. And they'll be sitting at 2-4, and you're going to really have questions about why can't this team ever just stay in it? Why do they put themselves in such adverse positions to where they're trying to dig themselves out of a massive hole, which against certain opponents, like I think the Cowboys and of course Buffalo and Green Bay in the next coming weeks, it won't be something you're able to overcome. But they get to 3-3. That's going to be 2 straight victories. And it's not often, unfortunately, here in Carolina where you see the Panthers win back-to-back games. Go back to last year against New Orleans, and then against the Giants in Munich was the last time they had a back-to-back win. So it wasn't that long ago. But prior to that happening, it had been a very long time that the Panthers had done that. So if they can get that done, get to 3-3, I would like to say, okay, there we go. We know who the Panthers are after 6 games. But then I'm looking at the Jets game and looking how bad the Jets are and holding my breath and wondering, is this team going to have a letdown against quite possibly the worst team in the National Football League? Now, they already beat one of the other 2 bad teams there in the AFC East in Miami last week, and they let Miami be in that game, or Miami should have been in that game. We look at total yardage, 418 to 248. So then maybe the Jets game is truly the litmus test, or maybe it's Buffalo and Green Bay. But getting to 500 is so important, because if you get to 500, I think you get to 4-3. And when you're at 4-3, you've won 3 straight games. You have Buffalo, who you could say they're coming to town. Their fans already live here in town. That would be a game where I think there's going to be a lot of energy in the stands for the wrong reasons, because it's going to be a lot of Bills fans, but a lot of energy, I think, around the organization to where they've won 3 straight games. First time that would have happened since the beginning of the 2021 season. And you maybe have a defense looking better. I would certainly think that your quarterback would have to have played well in order to win on Sunday, then to go and win the next week against the Jets. So that would be some positive momentum for this organization. So it's still early to know who the Carolina Panthers are in 2025, but Sunday you're 6 games in. And Dave said it would take 4 to 6 games. So let's find out who these Panthers are as they welcome Dallas town on Sunday afternoon. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe, follow the show free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where I'll be back with y'all next Wednesday answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. Hit me up after I record live from the stadium on Sunday to get those questions in. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding it. Again, I'll be live following the Panthers game on Sunday. Give me about an hour or so as I'll be there inside Bank of America Stadium. Going to go down to Dave Canales' press conference, Bryce Young's press conference, talk to some guys in the locker room in order to get some more understanding of what happens, and then come up and talk to y'all on YouTube around 5:15, maybe even 5:30 on Sunday afternoon. Talk to you then.